All right, this is going to be a tough video to make, I think. And so I'm going to do my very best to try to articulate my thoughts the best that I can. But it's a very, very sensitive topic. And so how this came about was I had literally two people in our coaching community really share some vulnerable thoughts about how sometimes clients can treat us as real estate agents and what it can do to like our mental, emotional state. And I've been thinking about this for the last 2 days straight. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. And I think about me in the early days of my career. I used to struggle with this so much. And that is this fine line between giving great client service and being taken advantage of. Giving great client service and having mutual respect with a buyer or a seller. In many cases, I think what happens, at least what happened to me, is the more I felt that I was doing for the client, the worse they would treat me. Like the more I would think to myself, all right, let me make myself more accessible, the more they would take advantage of that. The more they would, call me at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. And here I am thinking that making myself accessible is doing them a solid, doing a great thing for them. But what I found is that the more I gave of myself, the more they would take. And now, as a dad of 3, this is the thought I had literally last night before shooting this video. I'm like, clients are sometimes like children in that they will take as much as you give them unless you put boundaries around it. And I go back to the example I just gave you where I would answer my clients' calls at just ridiculous times, Sunday morning, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. And when I wouldn't, those same clients would like get upset. Why aren't you answering my call? What's happening? And this would be like Sunday at 7 in the morning. And it was because that I never drew a boundary. I never set proper expectations. I never established mutual respect. Because this is the reason, and I want to make sure I don't miss any of these thoughts. It was because I thought that if I tried to have this mutual respect between me and a client, that somehow that would hurt me, or somehow that would cause prospects to maybe, or clients not to do business with me. And now I realized that I had a scarcity mindset because of this, that if I just showed some self-respect, this is how messed up this is. If I had any type of self-respect or boundaries, that I was worried I would lose the client. And I think it's that behavior that makes prospects perceive real estate agents as a commodity. The fact that we work 7 days a week, 365, we never take time off, we're so accessible to the public that we've almost created this expectation that we are exactly that, a commodity. For me, I felt a long time, I used to resent my clients. I remember this because I was like, man, I'm human too. Like I have kids too. I have to eat too. I have to sleep too. And it was almost to the point where I felt like I was being treated like a robot or something, like just a commodity, I think is the best way to put it. And people would just, again, take advantage of me. And it was my fault because I had this scarcity mindset. I was absolutely attached to the outcome that if I didn't answer the call at, Sunday at midnight, that, they could just go with another agent. But here's what happened. And I'm making this video specifically for some of the agents that I care deeply about, because this really changed my career. Because had I not changed this, it probably would have forced me out of the business. And that is putting boundaries in place with clients, setting expectations with clients of what they could expect from me and what I expect from them. And the thing that I was scared of happening, the exact opposite happened. That when I put boundaries in place and when I set expectations, I actually got respect from my clients. That they were the ones who started to feel bad if, they had a question. I started having my clients send messages like this. They would say, hey, listen, I know you're off this weekend with your family. When you get back to this, can you look into this on Monday? And I was like, wow, that is how it should be. Because real estate agents do things that no other businesses do, in that most businesses have hours of operation, right? You're not calling the bank Sunday at 4 in the morning, blowing up the banker. Not a chance in hell are we doing that. And it's only realtors that happens to. And the reason that happens to us is because I believe we are the ones who invite it to happen. We we receive what we're willing to put up with. And the best analogy I can give you, because I coach a lot of my daughter's sports, is like children. So I've been coaching basketball for a couple of years now. And when I first started coaching, I wanted the kids to like me. This is a great way to put it. Just the same way I wanted my clients to like me. You know, I was so concerned with getting them to accept me and give me positive affirmation and get them to like me, that the relationship became one where I was being taken advantage of, and I had little to no respect from my clients. And the same thing happened when I started coaching these kids, you know, and they wouldn't listen to me. And it's just like your kids if you have kids. If there's no boundaries, kids take without remorse. And this is the greatest analogy I can think of right now to try to articulate this issue that is just really affecting a lot of real estate agents mentally and emotionally in our mental health. It's like, if we don't put the boundaries in place, I think that people will just take from us without remorse. And it's not their fault per se. I think it's our fault. I think we have to look in the mirror and own it. And that's why I'm making this video, because when I start putting boundaries in place, not only with my clients, but with these kids, everything has been different. Everything has been better. The client experience has been more positive. And I think that's what human beings need, quite frankly. Children and adults, is they have to know what the boundaries are with this relationship. And when boundaries are set, that there is a mutual respect that takes place as a result. And when those boundaries aren't set, we set people up to take from us. We set up people to be vampires, to suck the energy and the life out of us, because that was the expectation that we set, because there weren't any. And I think that's a good way to put it. That's kind of what the thought that I just had literally in this video. There's no script here. I'm just kind of going off the cuff. And this is the other thing I thought of. It's like when you get in a fight with a really good friend, that's something that's been brewing for a while, that after that fight, oftentimes you become closer. And I think it's because after the fight, you and the friend are like, man, I just had no idea you've been feeling this way. I wish you would have told me this sooner. And then the friend starts to respect your boundaries like they've never have before. And it brings that relationship closer. I'm sure you've experienced that sometime in your life. It's the same thing happened to me in my real estate business when I started doing that with clients. And this has nothing to do with not giving amazing world-class client service. This has nothing to do with not being nice. This has everything to do with it being fully acceptable to have a mutual respect where one isn't being taken advantage of. I think that's absolutely fair and a reasonable expectation that the consumers have, but it's up to us to communicate that to them. Because in my experience, if we don't, then we set the clients up to take as much from us as possible. And in my experience, when we set a good expectation and we set some boundaries and we tell the client, hey, this is when I'm accessible, this is kind of what things look like, and we just get into setting expectations, the client's going to respect you so much more. You actually be more valuable in the eyes of your prospect. And that's what's happened to me. And the fear of doing that, when I think back on it, I understand not wanting to maybe get into it with a client to say, listen, a real estate transaction is not fun. A real estate transaction can be an absolute nightmare. Here's all the things that could happen to us potentially in this situation. And I understand not wanting to get into that per se, because you maybe feel this scarcity of like, man, I don't want to lose the client because I'm a commission salesperson. I get all of that. But that's the other side of it, is your mental health. And so I think you can have both, is the point of this video. You can make a lot of money and give great client service and have mutual respect. You don't have to be a doormat and just get walked all over, you know, to earn these commissions. And we don't have to be a commodity. So I don't know if that was a good job explaining that or not. It's just what I've been thinking about for the last couple of days. I hope that it landed with you, because so many agents are struggling with this. And I think it's absolutely respectable and reasonable for you to have boundaries with clients, that it's just not all one-sided, that they're the client and so therefore they'll just get to walk all over me whenever they want. No, I think it needs to be equal business stature.